Look at this video real quick and kind of like go over it a little bit and kind of get an understanding about it. And you can see who the author is. So just just look at it one day. You know.
American supremacy. You don't want to fight for the real ethnic side of this country, the American Indians, the displaced slave people, take y'all home. What's the message for? America only.
Are these yours?
1865, no.
Okay,
if you ain't been here since 1865, go and sit down. Go sit down. We don't need to talk to you. We don't need your help. We don't need your service. 1865, now and forever. Because we're going to cut this out. 14th Amendment, it ain't for everybody. You ain't gonna see it. Go home. Go home. Wherever that is, but it ain't here.
Are we talking about
everybody go home.
Yes, we're talking about
everybody go home.
Who is the everybody?
Everybody. You know, because you ain't from here.
Are we
you ain't, if you can't do what I got, paperwork, go stay here. Go back where you came from. That includes you too.
Hey, I am legal here, man.
I don't care about legal or illegal.
Okay.
Denaturalization.
Yes, I understand that. Yes, I understand
Go home.
Yes,
you want to help me? Go home.
All right.
You want to help me? Go home. Wherever that home is, go.
All right.
Ain't no white supremacy. American supremacy.
American supremacy.
And if you don't know what an American is, then I don't know what to tell you. Because I know this one. Looking like that ain't no American. The original picture look like me. Sick of y'all too cold out here. Go the hell home. Go the hell home. Take y'all ass home. Everybody go home. Everybody go home. Ain't no white supremacy.
So you see, they're trying to. Well, the lady who's recording it, she's been immature about it, yeah, she's been immature about it, about her rebuttals and stuff like that. Like she's kind of looking at this as like sarcasm. A lot of these people, they view this stuff as like sarcasm. Like, it's funny to them when they see someone gets real passionate about something they believe in. They start to call them crazy and schizophrenic. That's what they do, right? But this is what I noticed. Right? She's not wrong about what she said. And you can see she's original. She's red skin. She's original. Once you become red, once you're red skin, right? You're Neolithic. In any sense in the understanding, you're Neolithic. Once you're red skin, they can easily draw like where you're from and who your people were just by knowing the area that you're in, right? They can easily gather that. They can look at the phenotypes and tell what tribes you belong to, right? They know these things. This is why they study. She looks kind of young in that photo, but they study. And again, that goes with your upbringing, right? That's your upbringing. Who are your parents? Your parents tell you to have respect for other adults. But they study Native American history. They study American Indian history. So the thing about with black people that they like to do is they like to use black people as like, their sensory, right? They like to use black people as like their collection, their showcasing, where they can study all of our history and kind of treat us accordingly, right? We don't know anything about what they're studying. We don't know anything about what's going on. All we know is that we out of $100 and it's the end of the month and there's no food in the refrigerator. That's all we know. She bringing it like, we're going to talk about the 14th Amendment, denaturalization. We're going to talk about renationalization, that's a conversation that was started really by Abdullah Talib Mosey Bey back in 20, I want to say 2016, 2018. He really started the conversation. Because he was the only person talking about etymology and talking about, people going back to their nation because the mother is sick. Abdullah Talib Mosey Bey, he's still doing. I think he did a video. I think he did a live stream a day or two ago. So he's still active in the networks. It's just people don't know about him. But he was the one talking about nationality, reclaiming your more status, reclaiming your more status. I end up finding out my third great grandfather put on the census that he was an African. Then I did a little bit more research and found out that the word Morsal could be translated in Ethiopian. But this was just a normal American, I would think, right? Because you got to be a normal American if there's no other people in that vicinity. This is what I think. I think my third great grandfather, because I don't have a portrait of him, I think he was American. And I think he just put on the census that he was African. That's what I think he did. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong because I do look at, he either was American or he was Habesha. He either one or the other. But that Morsal, that's definitely Habesha. But when you can look up that type of information and you can see that your people left something on a census like that, you know what I mean? Like that lets me know that they were against what was going on back then. Even then, they were against what was going on. They saw what was going on. And this goes back to the Dred Scott decision. Um, the Moor and the whole reclassification of Americans and Africans, the whole reclassification. Me, I only see like this improving if we separate populations, right? Um, we don't need apartheid. We don't need any of that. What we need is we don't need classism. We don't need classism, and we definitely don't need tribalism. What we need is nationalism, and we need it now. We need people to separate. We need people to be patriotic about where they're from. Like, don't come to America, take all the jobs, and then say, oh, the reason black people can't get anything done is because they don't have work ethic. Like, I don't know how other people days go, but like, when I was growing up, right? For me, if I didn't have food to eat, there was not going to be any going outside walking around because I didn't have energy. If there was no food to eat, there was not going to be no staying in school all day from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. There was not going to be any of that. So automatically you're missing out on education, you're missing out on nutrition, a lot of different things, right? But nobody likes to talk about those things, that the challenges that we face when we're put into certain environments by the choices of our parents. Nobody likes to talk about that stuff. So, when I look at the lady, she's holding a sign up and, she wants to challenge, the 14th Amendment, and she wants to challenge Trump's lawmakership. And there's even talks right now about Obama possibly running for another term to replace Trump. And I don't know how I feel about that, but it says a lot. It says a lot about where this country is going, man. And it's like people they're talking. You know what I mean? They're definitely tired of what's going on. Um, it seems to me like the only way women can make it in society is if they have kids. If they have kids, the system continues to give them certain things where they can get by. Um, to me, I don't really like that, right? I feel like it should be free industry, and you only get free industry if you have nationality. And I think China did that perfectly, right? China, they did it perfectly. China was like, we're gonna fight these wars, we're gonna defend our wall, and we're gonna do every party that we bring into this regime the way that we want to see it done, and we're gonna do it on one accord. So, when you go to China, you notice that the people on the ground, they have a great respect for their Asian history. They have a great respect for their contributions to the Eastern board of the globe. They'll tell you we're different from Japanese. We're different from Taiwanese. We're different from Filipinos. We're different, but we're all Asian, right? So, to me, I don't know, man. I want to see more people talk about nationalism. Nationalism, a lot of people have nationalism. Black people in America are the only ones who don't have nationalism. Whether you talk about Colombians, whether you talk about Mississippians, they don't have nationalism because every group around them are other subgroups of people who are hampered on their own survival, right? If you're forced to inbred with these people, right, what happens is you mix yourself out of existence. If you're forced to uh, go to work with them, right, then you forced to be put out of work due to like um, some type of political upspear. You're forced out of work, which we're seeing right now. You have all the people in construction are low laborers who would be like from Central America or somewhere or South America, and you're forced out of work. So there's no pride with nationalism if you don't have a healthy family unit. If you don't have a healthy family unit, no one is going to be talking about nationalism. No one. Me, I see the spirit very clearly. I see the spirit very clearly. I don't want to know other people's history, right? I really don't want to. Um, I just want to know my history. At my age, I just want to know my history. I don't want to know everybody else's history because I can't tell their story like they can tell their own story. I don't want to know about the Great Wall of China. I don't want to know about the Third Reich. I don't want to know about the Boston, uh, the Boston Tea Party. I don't want to know about none of that stuff. I want to know about my history. I want to know about the Anasazi. How did people live around the Grand Canyon in 150 AD? When I found out that that was on my DNA, my DNA board, I was like, wow. I was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. And that's what you see right now with a lot of black people. They're sensing a movement that's happening right now. They're sensing a need to know who they were back then, because it's going to tell them where they need to be right now. This is why everybody's saying they're American Indian, they're Niji, they're Aborigine. This is why everybody's saying that right now. And I think there was a springboard when you saw the FBA movement. That was a springboard to what all those groups was doing. 1000 Go Ahead, Aboriginal Power, Ab the Legend, Lex Will. All those guys, what they were doing on YouTube back in 2017, 2018, 2016. The FBA was just a movement that sprung out of that. But it was a CIA op. It was an optic. You obviously knew it was because, well, I don't have to say why it was, but you kind of know why it was. Because the founder, right, Tariq Nasheed, he wasn't talking about any of that stuff before then. Then when he started roasting some of the guys who were coming out with books talking about American Indian history and stuff like that, Bucci Bear and all that, he started roasting people. Then it became a different thing. Now it's everything's watered down right now because they co-opted the movement. It wasn't even a movement really. It was just people reuniting, talking about their history. Then it became something brash. Then it became about CIA operatives starting to make clashes with people who call themselves Indians clashing with Africans. Then it became about that. Then Africans started clashing back with Indians. So it became a whole CIA operative thing. But, I was there from the beginning when I got to see all those things happen, right? When 1000 Go Ahead put out his videos, one of his last videos, I was there. I was around then. And I think he's from Detroit. 1000 Go Ahead. He's from Detroit. So I was around a long time when I got to see all of this. Then other people started to come along and, Africans ain't, no, what is Americans ain't African, all that stuff with, like, then it became about something else. Now you're starting to see the pride is starting to get restored. No, we need to make this about global culture, about global indigeneity. This doesn't need to be about who looks like what. It doesn't need to be about that because we all share a distinct culture. We're good luck people. We're people who skip to the tune of the earth. They're trying to make it about something else. So when she came out and said what she said, I gotta respect it. You know what I mean? I don't know how she feels about Africans, but I gotta respect what she had to say in this video. Let me read this because I don't know what's going on in the news right now. I really don't. She spoke directly about the 13th and 14th Amendments, questioning common assumptions around birthright citizenship. Okay, birthright citizenship. I don't know. I think it's not about emotions. When you think about birthright citizenship, what's causing the economy to go the sour way? What's causing the economy to sour? It's people blocking trade. I don't think it's like, the more people you have, the badder the economy, the badder, the worser the economy is going to be. I don't think it's about that. I think it's just people blocking trades. I think it's about people being in certain positions that they shouldn't be in. Like she can be a chief of her own little tribe. You know what I mean? Like, And should nobody come in and tell her community what to do, how to raise her children, or do any of those things, right? Because they have a badge on or a uniform. I think it's about people blocking trade. I think that's what it's about. That's me personally. I think that's what it's about. So I think you got to look at your judges differently. I think you got to look at your clerks differently. I think you got to look at your attorneys differently. You got to look at all these people differently. You got to. So, birthright citizenship. Just look at the history of all this stuff that's been talked about throughout the ages. Where did it spark from, and why did it become a heated debate in the beginning? And I think you got to revisit those laws and those topics and those opinions. I think you got to revisit it, because let's face it, right? White people, their population is on a decrease, right? But at the same time, ours is on a decrease as well. So not only are they trying to take us down with them, right? But they're trying to stay alive, as well as they should. But at the same time, we also got to find a way to get back in power so we can resettle the Americas. We gotta put people back in Europe. We got to. Think of how the Afro Colombians feel, right? When they see their numbers are dwindling. Think about how they feel. Think about how the black Peruvians feel when they see their numbers are dwindling due to admixture. Think of how they feel. Because if she admixed with a white man or something like that, or Latino, her kids are not going to come out looking like this. They just not. It's simple science. They're going to be washed out of existence. It's simple science. So if you were around back then and you saw how all this stuff transpired, I would say go to 1000 Go Ahead on YouTube. That's 1000 GOHEAD 1000 Go Ahead. Look at his videos. Peace.